To help me figure out what's going on, I'm joined by a prominent crypto trader known by his online moniker, Audy. Welcome to Audy. I'll bring you in a second, but first a quick disclaimer. The content provided on this channel is for informational and educational purposes only. We are not licensed financial advisors, and none of the information shared should be considered as financial, investment, or trading advice. Please conduct your own research, consider your financial objectives, and consult a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions. Investing and trading in financial markets carries risks, and past performance is not indicative of future results. We are not responsible for any losses or gains that may result from following the content on this channel. As I said, though, at the start, one of the main aims is really to bring you, with these episodes, just a bit of clarity and to demystify the crypto biosphere and to get a better grasp on some of the factors that move the coins around. We normally do this on a monthly basis. We're about 3 weeks into the last broadcast, but we want to bring you this one because there's been a development, shall we say, really in the space. Obviously, more generally, we've seen cryptos take a bit of a hit, as we've seen in the tech sector in terms of market performance over the last few days. Bitcoin is trading with a 4 handle now, 42,000 roughly, I think, around about those levels there. And maybe some of that is down to what we're about to get into, really, with this coin called ZEC. Now, I want to give you a bit of Zcash, if you want to say ZEC, which is its handle, which has been one of the most volatile sort of assets in the crypto market of late. Bit of background on this, and then we'll bring in Audy, really. So going into the end of last year, start of this year, we've seen quite a bit of interest in ZEC within the industry, and we've seen some decent upside and multiple highs come through. And apparently this was fueled by renewed interest in privacy-focused cryptocurrencies and institutional buying, and a greater adoption of what they call shielded transactions. This is a piece from Business Insider. It says some analysts linked the move to the broader privacy coin narrative that gained traction in late 2025 and early 2026. At the start of this month, start of June, Zcash network experienced a temporary halt that lasted several hours. Despite disruption, traders initially remained constructive, apparently, on the coin, with ZEC holding above its psychologically important $600 level. And apparently daily trading volume has remained relatively elevated, really. But then the event that really took us on a different turn, around the 4th, 5th of June, developers disclosed a serious flaw in Zcash's Orchard shielded pool. And I want to bring in Audy on this now, because it's really interesting that, Audy works with Credo Fund, and there's a vast amount of experience in this space. And you guys, from what I know, I think we're the first to really flag this outside of, the sort of the team that actually initially found this issue. So, Audy, welcome first and foremost. Thank you for coming back on again. And we want to get into it with ZEC or Zcash as it is. What is your understanding of what happened and the subsequent market moves on the back of that?
First of all, you were largely correct. This incident, like it was reported as an exploit incident a day ago, then actually it started circulating. But it was, highly technical, long essay type of report where it wasn't so easy to piece it together. A couple people have mentioned it here and there, but I didn't think people had really put one and one together to understand what it may means. So then when it came across our desk and we started looking into it, that's where we started to realize, okay, this is potentially pretty huge narrative wise. And to explain what it is basically a vulnerability that was sitting on the code that allowed someone to print an infinite amount of silted Zcash. Now, what exactly is this? Is to understand, you need to understand how Zcash works. So it's a coin that you have the ability to put to shield, which basically means make it impossible to track. That's its privacy feature. So basically, there was this exploit allowing to mint as much of that you wanted, which obviously is pretty bad, right? It wasn't infinite Zcash. You could only cast out whatever was in the pool on the other side, effectively leaving anyone else in the pool with a hole. Um, and it's important to say that only the developers disclose this, right? So
Right.
practically this wasn't exploited. The problem is that due to the cryptography and the private nature of the chain, there was no way to know if someone actually took advantage of it or not. And this was there for 4 years. So you were right that when we picked it up and pieced it together, we were one of the first to flag it. And at the same time, the main developer posted another, let's say, like a few minutes later, right?
Mm.
Posted another report on what happened, and I think that made it worse rather than better. Because among the things he disclosed was that, let's say, a lead security researcher of theirs simply put the code base. Well, I'm oversimplifying a little, but he put the code base against Opus from Claude, asked for a specific type of bug, and they found the exploit that was sitting there for 4 years. So that
Okay.
obviously went viral overnight, especially considering how popular Zcash has been, and we saw this tremendous minus 50% move overnight.
And I mean, and just to extrapolate that really for the sector and for similar kind of coins, obviously it was a death blow for them as well. So we saw obviously a contagion in the space as well, didn't we? In that sense.
Yeah, I think to an extent, narrative wise and contagion wise, since so many people were long or bidding Zcash, and
Sure.
also I think it just exacerbated this fear that the whole space is more vulnerable now with the AI acceleration with hacking, and I
Right.
think it was together that we mentioned a large amount of these hacks are social engineering related, but this one, for example, was
So could you explain that a little bit? Just going to that for the social engineering aspect. So what do you mean? People in a group setting have basically gone out there to try and just to hack these things and to try and find the sort of back door.
Yeah, so social engineering in this context means that the hackers don't really hack the smart contracts. There is not something wrong with the code, but they manage to hack individual people who have admin privileges, and by compromising a few of them, they gain majority control of protocols and they manage to extract.
Understood.
Uh, that, in a way, defeats the AI argument partially, since it's
Mm.
a human error, not code error. But I flagged it specifically because in this case of Zcash, it was a code error. Like it didn't have to do with someone from the team getting compromised.
Right.
And just like we discussed in the other episode about Aave,
Mm.
Zcash is the largest privacy protocol coin as it is. So the effect, like you said, was widespread, not only um, secluded to Zcash. Now they've done a fair amount of PR control and
Yeah.
are trying to ship an update to prove that there are no counterfeit Zcash in circulation. I think that's largely why the market bounced. Plus, the move to the downside was maybe a little over exaggerated. But yeah, that's the top down view of what happened.
Well, I'm just quoting from a Wall Street Journal piece here. It says the incident struck at the heart of Zcash's value proposition. The auction pool is the protocol's flagship technology, and the possibility, however theoretical, of undetectable inflation raised concerns about the integrity of the entire supply. And that was again coming from the Wall Street Journal. Even though no exploit was found, as you said, and the bug was fixed, the market repriced the
W-
risk quickly.
Well, sorry to cut you off.
No, 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 it's fine.
Like I said, it's impossible to know if the exploit happened or not at this moment.
Mm.
Like you just can't see inside the pool to know. They said there was no exploit based on heuristics, but the more formal verification will come in few weeks, where they're gonna ship some kind of upgrade which will allow you to verify the entire supply that it's sound.
Okay.
But even like you said, however theoretical, right? Even 0.1% that this happened, the
Mm,
value of Zcash would drop close to zero. Um, right? If you think about the reasons that made Bitcoin great, about scarcity and the hard-coded supply and all that,
mm.
imagine that gets, um, you know,
Compromised.
yes. So Zcash was writing this narrative that is like Bitcoin with more of a private original ethos, plus no Michael Saylor overhang.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that obviously got dispelled to a large degree after this incident.
Again, and looking at this more existentially, does this create more doubt as an investor for institutions? And does this is this a do you see this repricing as ultimately a good thing to sort of maybe stop this inflation or just stop this bubble at so we're is getting things are getting priced now, coins are getting priced on a better value model as opposed to just as you saw last back end of last year where sort of Zcash was just flying. Is this bringing it down to earth and just making it um, ultimately a better investment, a better um, security, well, not security as such, but a better coin? Is this a good thing ultimately, or do you see this just open up vulnerabilities for this particular sector of coin?
I would say it's a mixed outlook. What
Right.
you presented is mostly what their team's line. It makes some sense in the sense that if truly there was no exploit, we'll put this behind us. It will be forgotten, and everybody got a big lesson in security and auditing and whatnot. But on the flip side, it's this fear that at any point, even coins as old and established as Zcash could have like a vulnerability like this sitting there for years.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure what the balance there is. I think it's subjective in the end.
Mm.
But yeah, it's worth mentioning that along the years there have been similar incidents on even Bitcoin many years ago, or
Mm.
other large coins, and now they're forgotten. So
Exactly. You've moved
obviously
on.
the drama and one of the things we realized with this upon breaking this headline is like how some headlines can create so much engagement and drama, like the sheer thought of, oh, someone could have minted infinite of this coin that's up
Mm.
um 10 1000 or so percent, just creates so much room for discussion and spreading. So it spread like wildfire. It was so wild to wake up and see, you know um such a drop. um but yeah.
I want to hear from your perspective though. When you guys discovered this or you saw this in there and goes, "Oh my god," was there second guessing yourselves? Just go, "Can I? Is this something to trade on?" Is how did you? What was it like in that first instance when you realised you were onto something really big?
Yes. So, with full honesty, we knew it was really bad, but we could never foresee minus 50% drop. I think in my head, I was thinking, okay, in the worst case of spread, like the maximum spread, this will do, I don't know, minus 20, very roughly
Mm.
speaking. So, we saw an opportunity and we traded it, but really didn't expect what we woke up into. This goes hand in hand with what I said, how much buzz certain headlines can generate
Yeah,
depending on the asset and depending on how much it's trending and the potential for drama. uh, but
like you said, being
yeah,
first the
it was
news.
it was hard to see. I mean, we knew it was bad, but then
Mm.
when you open Twitter the next day and you see everyone asking question like, oh, so this super popular coin could have been infinitely exploited for years now, and we are, to trust that they didn't, or that the developers who fixed it didn't mint some Zcash themselves and having thousands of likes. It's hard to envision this kind of virality, but I guess we knew it was bad and compromising for the narrative.
Yeah, fascinating. So we'll keep an eye on that story. Uh, and see where that goes in the sort of weeks and months ahead. I want to get on to strategy as well, because we
Mhm.
talked about strategy last time around STRC, and we've had more news from them lately. What's the latest on STRC, and what have you seen in over the past sort of there was a story out I think last week, wasn't there, on strategy, another announcement from them.
The update on the dividend payment, you mean, or
Yes, yes,
yeah, yeah. So he did this. So STR, Michael Saylor did this. So the peg to 100 is more stable. For those who have been watching, STRC traded down to $90 on Friday before the close. So 10% off, let's say, where Saylor has as a target and is able to raise money through to buy Bitcoin. I think the simple story on this is that the market is realizing, well, maybe with some lag now that prices dropped so much, that Saylor has hit some kind of equilibrium where he can't buy more. He's not yet forced to sell to pay
right.
dividends, but he doesn't have this leeway and freedom to eat through the equity or through these preferred dividends at such high yield. So Bitcoin and MSTR and STRC are getting priced accordingly. Now his hands are mostly tied. Whenever
Hmm.
Bitcoin drops, there are doubts on whether he will be able to pay these dividends down the line. It's a bit cyclical, Bitcoin
Mm.
drops, then STRC depegs, MSTR drops, Bitcoin drops more, and vice versa when we go up. But in my opinion, these are the signs we've hit some equilibrium. When people are not buying 11, 12% a year yield, um, even at the discount on the preferred. I mean, it's kind of a clear signal, and it makes sense among the broad market context with AI and the stock market doing so well, and Bitcoin and gold being rather weak.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is an event coming up in July, isn't there, where they're launching new semi-monthly payment schedule. I read.
Yes. So I think whenever the payment was due, the preferred was more likely to trade close to the peg of
Right.
100. So by making this more frequent, they hope to make it more stable. That's it.
Excellent. And in terms of, is that something is in your calendar to keep an eye out for, uh, just as a strategy, or as just a potential catalyst for future moves for the sector?
I mean, of course, you want to keep some eye on it, but
Mm,
like I said, I think it's largely reflexive and not lagging per se, but it's something that's going to come up during panic or during euphoria. Like at the
understood.
top, infinite cash cow. This STRC allows him to buy forever and provide exit liquidity for buyers uh, until the end of time. And at the low, deep eggs, questions about his financial standing and how
Mm.
the obligations will look like in few years, and fear across the board. So of course we track it, but yeah, I think that's the nature of it.
Um, just to round off, we'll be finishing up the episode soon. Bloomberg have put out a piece here that says Bitcoin sell-off leaves half of all supply trading at a loss. It says the latest retreat has been so severe, it's pushed more than half of its circulating supply into loss-making territory. It says with the coin trading around 61,000, down some 50% from its record highs, and a fresh break below 200-week moving average, is quickly racking up losses for a growing holders. And it says for the first time since late 2022, more than 50% of the coins trading are doing so below their purchase price, according to Vettel Lundi at K33 Research. Um, do you worry for? And this is again one of those sort of questions that you can't really answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you see any underlying concerns for Bitcoin, or is this really again just part of what we're seeing as this market finds its feet, as the whole of the sector really starts to settle and start trading more like I'm not going to say a real security, but just more as a reliable and dependable security. Do you see this as ultimately a good thing for Bitcoin and more generally for the sector?
Again, my answer would be somewhat in the middle. I think like you said, worrisome things that are rising up now were there since a few months, if not years, if you're being super proactive. Like they're just coming up the surface now because the price is low, but even a month ago we were trading at 82K. The um, problem around quantum computing, for example, was the same. So, or around altcoins and having some value accruing business or not was the same. So the problems are just circulating now due to price. But yeah, of course, I'm not worried, let's say, but I think that the industry has to innovate to keep going. Bitcoin has to address some key problems like the quantum threat.
Mm,
It is known that Bitcoin devs can be a bit um, slow to adjust or not very open, let's say, to innovation. So a
okay,
lot of people are worried about will the Bitcoin dev community will be able to come together and ship some solution fast enough before we have quantum computing, and respectively for altcoins, will the industry be able to pivot to healthy tokens like Hyperliquid's one or a few others? And by healthy, I mean tokens that have a reason to exist in like something more than just decentralized governance, and like
sure.
they are sharing revenue. I don't want to strictly say acting like some kind of security because the industry is traumatized by this, but something of that sort. I think it was a
Sure.
not a shock but a slow and big realization that most of the tokens have zero reason to exist. I mean, like 90% plus 95.
Right.
Yeah. So if that gets fixed and Bitcoin solves the quantum problem, the future can be super bright. Um, if not, I think the industry will be in a neutral to recessive territory for a bit of time. But yeah, like I said, these things are always cyclical. All of
Yeah.
these things were true half a year ago, and we were above 100K.
It's a very, very good point. And I guess in that sense, the macro picture still plays a part in directional the direction for crypto at the moment. Obviously, with everything we're seeing, this little dip we're seeing in the tech sector and this bout of selling we're seeing for techs at the moment. Obviously, the ongoing crisis in the Middle East as well. I mean, cryptocurrencies they don't operate in a vacuum. And the more we get institutional guys involved, then the more there must be some sort of influence from the macro scene, from other sectors that plays a part, I guess.
Yes, for
That's
sure.
a reasonable assumption, I guess. Okay, listen, Audy, thank you so much for just breaking that news to us. And again, it's just incredible. You guys are at the forefront of of that price discovery, of that of the news scene on in the crypto space. So, where can people find you guys? Obviously, you have your own Discord channel. People can come and find you at Credo. And find you there, I guess, and on the social media platforms. But we'll put out any links so people can find you as well on there. But yeah, thank you. And again, we'll do this next month. And if there's another story, we'll bring that to you beforehand. But thank you all for listening. Audy, thank you for imparting some knowledge and just a bit of that sort of industry knowledge, which is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.